I'm Jason Hyden. I graduated from Grace in 2013 with a social studies education major. I'm currently teaching at Peru Junior High in the special ed room, in the transitions room. This is my first time teaching in special ed, and I'm really loving it, so it's good.
Okay. Now, how would you say your time at Grace prepared you for your teaching career now?
My time at Grace was a lot of hands-on experience through the education program, as well as experiences in the history department that we were able to do in the Winona Lake area and some of the stuff like that. So I think I got a lot of practical experience from Grace, and I really enjoyed the classes that I took and the professors that I had there.
Mm-hmm. And if you want to give a little bit more detail about some of the maybe history-related stuff you did at Grace and some of the programs that are available there?
Sure. So when I was at Grace, I think the History Club began, the Relics Club. I did some stuff with that. We went to the Remnant Trust, saw some documents that are really cool, stuff that I would never thought would be in Winona Lake area. So that was cool. Yeah, and just a lot of stuff that kind of outside of class that we did that really, I think, brought it to life for me and kind of got me interested more in history than I already was to begin with. So
okay.
Yeah, it was cool.
Was there any particular inspiration for your study of history or why you decided to go into that in college?
I think my first love was education, but I was inspired mostly by my high school history teachers to take that route in education. I've always loved history. It's just something that I'm passionate about, and I love to pass on to other people, and I love to see students get excited about history because I know not all students love history just, off the bat. So it's kind of exciting to get them to learn kind of where we came from and how we got to where we are now is exciting for me.
Mm-hmm. Did you go into college then knowing you wanted to be a teacher, or did you start out with like a teaching degree then? Yeah,
I knew I wanted to be a teacher, and I thought about some other things while I was at school, but the fear of prolonging a four-year degree kind of kept me on track. And at times I thought, man, maybe I want to go into counseling or maybe I want to go into social work, but I'm glad that I stuck with teaching, and I'm really happy that I'm here where I'm at now.
Definitely. So after you graduated then, what was it like as far as finding a place where you wanted to teach? How did you decide all that?
Right. So after I graduated, I actually became a social worker in Fort Wayne. I did that for about 3 months, doing home-based counseling. That wasn't really for me. I enjoyed some of the experiences that I had, and I learned a lot from it. I kind of matured a lot as a person. But at the same time, it was a very stressful job, and it was a lot of driving around. And so I thought, I really want to get into the classroom. That was my main goal, and I kind of wanted to get back on track with that. And so I taught at an alternative school for a year, and that was kind of my first real in the classroom experience. So I enjoyed that, but it wasn't what I was after. I knew I really wanted to be in a public school. That was my dream. My wife was teaching in a public school already, so I started looking for public school jobs. Didn't really find anything in history, which is my major. And then a week into the school year, I had kind of given up, and then a special ed job opened up here in Peru. And I kind of thought, oh, I'm not really qualified for that. I can never do that. And I interviewed anyways, and they said, no, you can definitely do it. We'll give you an emergency license. And several weeks later, here I am.
Okay.
But it's been a really positive experience. I really am enjoying what I'm doing. And actually, a history job has opened up elsewhere, and I'm really debating taking that job, but I'm really pulled to be here. I think this is God's calling for me to be here, so I think I'm going to stick with what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm. And if you can go back to when you first started your first teaching job, what was that like for you? Were there some expectations maybe going in, or what did you think that was going to be like compared to how it actually turned out?
Yeah, so I had some experience from student teaching. I had done my student teaching experience at Southwood, where I actually went to high school. But the alternative school was just completely different, just a realm of education that I didn't know actually existed. It was a pretty hostile environment for teaching, and so I think that that's some of the most difficult teaching that you can actually do, and I have so much respect for alternative school teachers now. I didn't even know that side of education existed, but it was a very eye-opening experience. Mm-hmm. I would say.
Yeah, so I think you sounds like you learned a lot then.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot under pressure, yeah, on the go.
Okay. So then in your current job as a special ed teacher, what's that like? What is maybe a normal day like for you, if there's a normal day?
Right. So yeah, that's kind of the name of the game, is change and adapting. We start out, the kids go to breakfast, all of our kids go to breakfast. We start the day actually 15 minutes before the rest of the school. So my kids are here pretty early and they're pretty tired, just like you'd expect kids to be. From breakfast, we go into our goal work. Everything in special education is centered around goals. Each student has goals on their IEPs, their individualized education plans. So we'll do about an hour and a half to 2 hours of goal work, which for them is a lot. It's a lot different than a traditional classroom where you'd expect the kids to be doing academics all day. We don't have that expectation here. We focus a lot on life skills and career skills and things that will actually help them in practical ways now outside of school, just as much as we focus on academics. So our day is kind of scheduled that way. So in the morning we do more academic work, and in the afternoon we'll do like life skills, social interactions, cooking, anything like that can help them right now outside of school.
Mm-hmm. Which I think is probably a big part, isn't it? Because, I mean, you obviously, the academic side is important, but there's a lot more to it than that.
Right, yeah. Like for these kids, none of my students are on track to graduate. They're all just on track to get a certificate of completion. So we're just trying to prepare them to be citizens in the best way that we can. And academics are certainly a part of that. We don't just abandon the academic aspect of it. That's certainly important for us. But we want them to be able to do what they want to do as much as possible and be as independent as possible. So that's our primary goal in this classroom.
Mm-hmm. So for the different things they're working on, whether it's academic or the life skills type stuff, who kind of decides, like, puts that together? Is that a lot of stuff you're working on and kind of customizing that for each student? How does that work? Yeah, so that falls on me. And like I said, I don't have a ton of experience. I've had to learn on the go. There's been a lot of long nights thinking about those kind of things. But yeah, and everything is done with the student in mind. So the students are involved a lot in their own planning, what they want to do. Everything we do is with the students' goals in mind. And in this kind of a setting, there's a lot more freedom to experiment and have the students do things that they're interested in, maybe more so than in just a traditional setting. So yeah, it's very student-based. Yeah, so that seems to work pretty well then for you, as far as experiences you've been here?
Yeah, certainly.
Okay. Sounds good then. So what would you say is maybe some of the most rewarding parts of teaching? Obviously you seem to really be passionate about teaching, and that's kind of something you wanted to do for a lot of years.
Right.
What's something you find, maybe a couple of the most rewarding things you find about that?
Prior to taking this job, I really was all about getting the kids to learn about history and imparting what my passions are for them, But in this job it's a little bit different. I see a lot of sorry, I lost my train of thought. In this job, it's different because the students aren't academically, they're not going to graduate. So to them, a grade is not as big of a deal, or passing a standardized test is not a big of a deal. But the relationships you can develop in this type of setting, I think, are so critical, and they're so important to the kids, and the kids really want to bond with you. And that's an experience that I've never had in an educational setting, so that's really, really cool for me to do. And I think that's the most rewarding thing, is developing those relationships and seeing the kids grow and become young adults, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I imagine that can be really neat when you get that kind of close relationship going with it. I imagine you try to do that as much as possible with each student. I'm sure that takes a lot of time and stuff, right. It can't always be easy. Yeah, I mean, I've never had as many resources as I do now. We have myself and then 3 aides in the room at all times, and we only have 8 students. So I mostly am thinking more big picture stuff. I teach one-on-one with the kids throughout the day, but the aides actually help out quite a bit with that. I'm thinking more the planning part, and being a special ed teacher. I'm used to saying social studies teacher. Being a special ed teacher, there's so much stuff that goes on behind the scenes I had no idea about, and I'm just now beginning to learn. But you really are almost a social worker and a teacher in the same role. The kids have a lot of needs, the families have a lot of needs, and the school meets those needs as best as we can. And so you really do a lot of behind the scenes stuff that I do throughout the day, as well as actually teaching. Mm-hmm. So do you maybe try to, you mentioned trying to form a close relationship with a lot of the students. Will you do things outside of the school with them as far as activities, and maybe even go into their houses or something like that? Yeah, so I actually have the opportunity sometimes to do home-based services with them. Okay. And we actually have one student right now who is too fragile to be at school. So I might actually be doing some stuff in her home with her, teaching one-on-one. And that's just an extension of the school services to her. And that's all a new experience for me. I've not done anything like that before. But yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting to do things like that are new. Mm-hmm. And so with all these new experiences, are there, like manuals or something you can read, or is it pretty much all in the classroom learning as you do it?
Yeah, it's a lot of thinking on your feet. It has been a lot of that. I certainly have a good support group with the program that I work with that is actually in other schools as well. The Wabash Miami area program works in, I think, 5 or 6 different schools, and so I have a lot of support from the administrators there as well as my administrators in this building. It can be a little bit confusing having 2 different sets of administrators, 2 different bosses, but I'm kind of navigating it as I go with everything else.
Mm-hmm. And are you the only special ed teacher here at Peru, or are there other in the same school here?
I am the only special ed teacher that has a room where the kids are in here all day, a self-contained room. There are other special ed teachers that work one-on-one with students or pull them out throughout the day, but this is the only room where the kids are in here all day, self-contained. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Okay, so kind of a really great program then I think you've got going on here.
Yeah,
so then it seems like you've gotten some experience now over the last couple of years. What tips would you have for maybe other student teachers that are soon going to be in your position?
Be open-minded. I think that there are jobs out there. There's a teacher shortage, obviously. Be open-minded about where you'll be placed. Be open-minded about the experiences that you're open to having. Try to gain as much experience as you can while you're in college. It'll all come in handy. Even times that seem really hard and it seems like it's just never going to work out, those experiences will come in handy later on. There are times when I almost gave up on education many, many times. All those experiences I had that were really hard have come in handy now that I've kind of got my feet under me.
Yeah. Are there any specific maybe tips for people still in college studying, or like maybe classes you'd suggest, or outside activities that they could do, or internships, maybe anything like that?
Yeah, I would say definitely look to other teachers who are currently teaching. Teachers are really willing. Like, I would love to have people come in and kind of observe. It's no problem for me to do that. I wish I would have done that more. I think people just think the student teaching experience is the only real world experience that they'll get. And it doesn't have to be that way. Teachers are very open to having people come in. I would love to have people come in. And as far as your area, your subject area that you're teaching in, there's tons of opportunities out there. There's so many opportunities at Grace, I know, for history majors to kind of explore history. And all of those experiences that you have, you can share with your students and kind of bring history to life. For me, history. So just be open to new experiences, and because everything that you do, you can share with your students and kind of enhance their education through your experiences.
Yeah, that's really cool. So then, for when you're teaching, on a daily basis and kind of the in-class activities and things, where do you find maybe inspiration, or kind of how do you come up with the daily activities for the kids?
In special ed, I've kind of been thinking on my feet. My wife is a teacher; she's been a great asset to me. So thank you, Megan. But a lot of it is from the kids themselves, the students themselves. What are you interested in? And kind of building your lesson plans based off of their interests and what makes them happy. And it's obviously based on their goals as well, which they are also involved in the planning of their own goals as well. So everything is student driven in this classroom. Mm-hmm.
So do you feel like then you have plenty of resources for what you do, or are there areas where you feel like it'd be really nice if we could have more in this area of something?
Actually, I feel really well equipped in this current position, and in my past positions that I've had, I haven't always felt that way. So when I came to Peru Junior High, I felt, wow, I have the huge room, I have all the staff that I need, I have the resources that I need, I have the budget that I need. So I'm actually really happy. I don't know that all teachers can say that right now, but I'm very comfortable with what I have resource-wise. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just trying to learn to put it all together and make the best classroom that I can.
Yeah, I think that's really great. And people in your position as like special ed teachers, would you say there's a shortage of what that you have seen? Like, if people are looking to become teachers, would special ed be something they should look into? Yeah,
absolutely. There's a huge shortage, especially in this area. So yeah, I would definitely be open-minded to it. And it's not something that I envisioned I would be doing at all, but I love doing it. And there's a lot of opportunities out there if you're interested in it. And it looks great on a resume. It's a great experience, and it's a lot of fun to really do.